Now, before we can fight over land, let's talk about the resources we have.
During the formative stages, Your Excellency, of Agenda 2063, foreign ministers generally agreed that Africa needs a strong, bold leadership to steer the continent into the future. What is your comment on that statement? Does Africa have such leaders? Well, you've spoken of President Mugabe.
Well, you see, it's a contradiction. When you are strong and bold, you are condemned. Now you are looking for strong and bold leadership. What is what?
Well, your critics will say one thing and your supporters will say another.
We don't have to have strong or bold. We want leadership and we'll provide leadership.
Some say the current crop of African leaders, especially the so-called young Turks, appear to be deviating from the principles of the continent's founding fathers. In your opinion, is there any truth in that?
Yes. Even from our discussions, it was going towards that side. So definitely, we were young too. We were in exile, but we had parents. I think it starts from the upbringing at home, political upbringing, also in the house, church, whatever it is. We had discipline. The thing, discipline was there with us. I don't think today people have discipline. Discipline is lost because of what we got as freedom of speech, freedom of movement, which liberation movements brought, by the way. You may get tired of it, but I will repeat it. The liberation movement brought that peace and democracy and freedom. Now people think when you are talking about freedom of press and so on, everything is free. Where your freedom starts and ends is not looked at. You think you have the whole world to criticize or do anything. That's not the issue. So the young people, I think today, as we are seeing in Namibia, South Africa, and so on, how we think to disagree means to insult. To insult, to make noise, to even parliament sometimes. That's not what I see we ought to do. So we were disciplined. And I think some, not all young people, but some of them have strong understanding to think if you want to oppose, you must insult, you must be articulate. We know the wars. We know how difficult it is. And when we struggled, suffered, and got peace, we want to safeguard that peace. Some people think they can just come and disrupt things and that will solve the problem. We are saying, be careful. Americans went into Iraq, Libya, to change leadership. Even Gorbachev did that, to change Soviet Union without having some kind of a management. And when you manage a system, when you bring about a change without managing it, the change can wipe you out. And that happened in Soviet Union. And today, President Putin is trying to revive Soviet Union, Russia again.
Is Africa ready for a female president?
We have always been ready, because in the struggle, we are together.
Speaking of leadership, Your Excellency, in your view, is Africa ready for a female president?
We have always been ready, because in the struggle, we are together. We've always been ready, but if you are going to make it as a quota, that now is a time for African women president, we are going to have problems. But we must have cutters, they are there. So I don't think we, maybe former liberation movements, are having a problem of having a female president because they were fighting too.
So they faced the same opportunity as their male counterparts?
Well, where the obstacles are placed, you must remove the obstacles. Obstacles is the African customs come. We African men are only African when we want to oppress people. So we must also address the question of customs, traditions, which can inhibit women coming up and taking what they fought for.
Your Excellency, let's talk about the ICC for a minute. In recent years, Africa has spoken strongly against the International Criminal Court's apparent bias against African leaders. What is your view regarding the ICC?
My view starts from the position that we have to create institutions in governance, in the governance architecture. We are talking about having institutions, including our court system, which will be independent. We went to ICC, I'm told by my dear friend Kofi Annan, because we didn't have our institutions, so therefore we went to the ICC. Africans are the creators of ICC, we were told. That time, Africans didn't have apparently institutions. I was not there. So, in Namibia's case, I'm just starting from there. Americans, who are the leaders of chasing the people around, ICC is supposed to deal with those who are violating the rules, international rules, and so, human rights, and so on. Why wouldn't the United States be a member? They should have been the first ones to be members. They are not members of ICC. So I said jokingly one day, if Americans join, we will stay. If they don't join, we will go. Why? Americans will tell you they have their own system. Why would their people go to other places? In Namibia, we have established our own systems. Our courts are independent. If I committed crime, they will get me. So therefore, I don't need, Namibians don't need ICC.
So you're going forward with pulling out of the ICC?
Well, African countries decided to pull out, and we're part of African position, but we have to follow our own systems. We have to go to the parliament. We have to consult people, we have to inform them. Why? But if you are thinking, is ICC not really targeting, or doesn't it seem like ICC is only targeting Africans? Appearance question. It is. Right now, if you look at situations like in the Middle East, and if Syria were not supported by Russia, wouldn't they come in and do something there? Why don't we get other leaders also brought to ICC? President Clinton, Secretary Clinton, were together in Addis, and she was talking about these people not to not to be taken to ICC in Kenya, and those who apparently committed the crimes. She was on the case, and one American CNN journalist asked her, "Madam Secretary, you are saying Africans must go to the ICC, but how come you are not members of it?" He said, "They signed, we didn't sign." Simple as that. They signed, we didn't sign. So we're just saying, let's not just sign anything. It's true. If you sign, there are obligations, consequences for that. So the only way is to get out. And also, if ICC was needed that time, and Africans therefore went there, but Africans have the same right also to say, now time has come, I don't need it anymore because I've developed my own institutions. What's wrong with that?
Moving on to the emotive issue in Namibia, genocide of the 1900s. How is your government dealing with that issue?
Genocide, we say it's our people, not one group saying Hereros and Namas are the only ones who were killed. To us, as a representative government who was elected by Hereros and Amaras and Namas and Ruvimbo speaking, representing Namibia, the government of Germany, after we failed through the parliament, I was in the parliament, I was a backbencher. I went to Germany, where Comrade Gurira was a speaker, and while we were sitting there in Bundesrat, the Germans threw out that case from there. Therefore, parliament, where all of us were involved in, including opposition parties, we went there, they threw it out. So after a while, President Pohamba took it upon himself as a responsible leader of all the people, and wrote to Merkel, Chancellor Merkel, to talk about outstanding issues in our relationship. Historical issues, some are ugly, but we must address them. It took a long time before she replied. Then she replied diplomatically. And again, after that, the issue died. All of a sudden, Germans came and said, we are ready to discuss all aspects of our history, and including genocide. They used the word for the first time, including genocide. Then they appointed an envoy that will negotiate. We look at it, we say, let's study what is the level of that person. Is it really a serious level that we can engage in with? And after realizing, I took over then. And I look around the landscape of Namibian citizens. I chose a son, Namibian, a qualified person, a doctor, he was a diplomat. He's part of the genocide victims. He is having a royal blood, and I appointed Dr. Kavirwe. So that was to look at the outstanding issues, and we should invite all Namibians to come. But some Namibians are saying that they are the, descendants of the victims of genocide. They should be the ones to directly negotiate with German government. Now there is a state actions, non-state actors don't participate in some state actors. We learned it very hard during our negotiations. When we were fighting after the fourth retrieval was implemented, we were sent to frontline states to take care of us, and the 5 to take care of South Africa. State actor question came in. So we're now doing it through the frontline states. We negotiated, yes, but through the frontline states. All we are saying is that nobody must be left out, because one of the words I'm using is no one must feel left out. That's my philosophy. And we have talked to Namibians who are outside. We say, why are you outside? Come in. Now they say we want to have a 3 tripartite kind of representation. German government there, Namibian government there, we should be sitting there. So that is out. You elected us. They're forgetting we got 80% to represent you. And Germany is trying to talk state to state. If you want to do your other things, you are free to go and do it. You can take over the negotiations too, if you think that's the way. We don't force anybody. But government is trying to come with the leverage government has with another government. Otherwise, we are talking. We don't also want Germans to use seeming disagreement among Africans. So that's not my approach. I talked to the leaders who are outside. I said, no one must feel left out. You are welcome to come and join the government's negotiating team. You sit behind. There will be, he's not a member of SWAPO even, the man who's negotiating. It's a Namibian coming from those people who are claiming to be part of those who were killed. He is qualified. With him, we can hold hands and we can approach the Germans. Don't give Germans chance to say, yes, look, they are fighting among themselves. That's what we said. So we are going to meet. When I go back, I'm going to call a meeting. Rugoro is a fellow I brought up. I brought the government, Attorney General, who is now the chief. We're going to meet, and all Namibians must come on board so that we can, as united people, under the elected government, approach the Germans.
So those pursuing the lawsuit in Germany are the ones that feel they are the direct descendants of the victims?
Now, those who are in the United States, what standing do the United States courts have? We'll see. But is it really, anyway, it's not the first time people went to the United States for a lawsuit. They were there before. They lost that time. That's why we came to the parliament. Because I told Chief, who is now late, when he was accusing the Prime Minister, we don't support. I said, no, if you are talking about Hereros and Namas, how does the government come in? Let's make the thing a national issue. Make it Namibians were killed. I gave example of Kasinga. In Kasinga, about 90% of Namibians were killed by South Africa, where Ruvimbo speaking. But we didn't go and say Ovambos were killed there. We said Namibians were killed, but we know the numbers, those were killed. So we talk about unity. We are saying we know Namas and Hereros and many others were basically killed, by the way. But we are saying, let's talk about Namibians. But we will know in our hearts, the world even knows from your activities that Hereros and Namas were killed because the extermination order mentioned those. But we've already added now, they're talking about Cameroonians in Togolese, the diaspora, they're talking about Botswana. So is it a question of really politicking, or are we really seriously talking about our people who and other thing is the Jewish Holocaust. When I came to America as a young boy, I saw old people lining up there. So what are they doing there? So now they are the survivors of Auschwitz or whatever it is. And then that's the issue. When you talk about many people who were talking, think there will be cash involved, and they will get that cash and go and dish out politically. That was the main thing. They still believe in that. And then we are saying, who is going to get that? What do we then define the terms. When I was appointed as a committee I was chairing, let's define genocide. It's a post-World War II phenomenon, the terminology genocide. When our people were killed, it didn't exist. Don't allow them to use that technically to knock out the case. Let's redefine it in a liberation kind of a way to say it tantamounts to genocide. That way we can qualify. We said, when we talk about reparations, what do we mean? Are we talking about cash or what? Let's define that too. And who is to get it? When the Kenyan Mamon people won the case in UK, it was the survivors of that Mamon action, that those who were killed, who went to court and won the case. But there were old people who were survivors were there. Now we have to address these issues, not to give the Germans or anybody chance. We're talking about doing things properly. Nobody will be against any of Namibian people getting whatever, being recognized and so on. Again, why would the SWAPO government be against Namibians who were oppressed by oppressors? Why would it be against that? So what we are saying is that let's do it properly, state to state, yes. Government is your government. I told the colleagues, don't say our people. Those are my people. They are my people. They were killed in this country. You have now elected us to talk on your behalf. That's what we are doing, not usurping anybody's power. But who wants to usurp that to get what with it? We are not as a government saying we're going to take over your powers. There's no power. Power is with the government. And the only government can negotiate with another government. Even Germans are not going to negotiate with them. So we're just saying, let's hold hands and approach the Germans. Don't give Germans an excuse. Say, oh, they're just fighting among themselves. So I'm never going to see that as a president. I will have all Namibians on one side.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your time.